Um, so like,
Is this gonna be a somber episode? Where
no, no.
no? Okay.
This is a little different.
All right.
Um, so the N64, was trying to win a battle with PlayStation, and I used to argue with two friends of mine who are probably mutual friends,
Mhm.
and they were both PlayStation fanatics, and they had every right to be. I mean, there was a lot of great games on the PlayStation, but for me at the time, it was like, yeah, but your graphics are blocky and pixely, and like it just ugh.
Doesn't look good.
And
Right.
then look at mine; they're nice and smooth. Now
Detailed.
today, though, I might actually prefer the PlayStation's graphics, but that's just for nostalgic reasons. However, when Sega was like, "Hey, check this out. Here's the Dreamcast," and they were showing off what the system could do, and I saw videos of Sonic Adventure, I'm like, "Oh my Lord."
Hmm.
And
Yeah, that was
so
one for me too, man.
it was coming out September 9th, 1999. Well, Toys R Us had pre-orders starting, I think, like in July or maybe August. And I went ahead and I pre-ordered. I put $15 down.
Hmm.
And then September 9th comes and we went to Toys R Us and I got my mom to pay for the rest.
Wow.
I I used a little reverse psychology that we learned in our psychology class in high school, and I somehow conned my mom into going ahead and buying it for me. And
Well, I
we
hope she's
had
not watching this video.
uh, it's funny though. Like
Hope your
she,
daughter doesn't watch this video one day. That would be hilarious.
oh boy. Well, so she bought the system. She paid for the rest of the system for me, and then she's like, "How many controllers does it come with?" I'm like, "One." Well, your brother's gonna need to play too, so she bought a controller for him to use.
Sound logic.
And then she's like, "Does it come with games?" I'm like, "It comes with a demo disc." She's like, "Oh, that's good enough." So then we went home with the demo disc, and I got to play the demo of Sonic Adventure, Hydro Thunder, and
Ready
a
to
couple other
rumble.
games. Yeah, and I was like, man, Sonic Adventure. Oh, went to go pick it up, and they didn't have any. So we picked up Hydro Thunder, and that was our first game. No memory card. We didn't have a
Yeah.
VMU,
Yeah.
and so we played the shit out of that game, and we had to leave the system on.
Oh.
So eventually we got a memory card and we were able to save, but like to this day, like there's a few games that we got during the launch window. There's Hydro Thunder and Suzuki was it All-Star Racing? I don't
Yeah,
know how you
okay.
pronounce it, but
Yeah.
those two games, believe it or not, are my most favorite Dreamcast games of all time.
Oh, really?
I absolutely loved both of those games. Hydro Thunder was kind of neat though because it's multiplat,
Hmm.
and
It's
I ended
far
up,
better on Dreamcast.
oh, definitely, it was essentially it was arcade perfect.
Yeah.
But I ended up renting it on N64, and eventually, when I had got my PS3, I bought the PlayStation version, and I was kind of comparing them, and seeing
Huh.
just the differences. And man, there's such a huge difference. I mean, the PlayStation version is the weakest link, big time.
Yeah. I'd love to
And
see a comparison video if you
I,
feel up to it. That'd be so cool.
I would love to. I can definitely do a comparison between the PlayStation and the Dreamcast, but
N64 might be tricky.
I don't unless I use an emulator, which I frown upon that myself, but you know, the differences though were really big. Like for instance, the PlayStation's kind of like grainy, like with the
Hmm.
pixelation, and then the N64 was a lot better because it was being, it was smooth, so
Yeah.
it looked better when you're in motion. But the Dreamcast had the nice, crisp graphics, no pixelation or anything, and it ran, I do believe, at 60 frames a second,
Yeah.
whereas
It does dip
N64,
occasionally, but
yeah,
right.
the N64 was 30 frames, and the PS1 was 30 frames, and you could tell the difference is huge. Um, and then, Suzuki, that game, man, it's an arcade racer. You're on a motorcycle doing insane speeds, a lot of times on the sand, which you're not really going to do that. But
Uh,
that game, I just like every now and then I'll hook up the Dreamcast and I'll play that and just play it for a couple hours just because it just brings back great memories of that system.
it's
And
interesting that you have this like oddball third party game that's like just beloved because I have
yeah,
one too.
well, and the thing too is that as far as I know, that wasn't on any other system. Suzuki.
Yeah. It might have
I
been on
know
like PC at the time, but
maybe,
like
yeah, but
it's a different
I
time.
I didn't play PC games all
No.
that much. I mean, I
Back
don't know.
then it was
Those
even
those
worse.
those two games were pretty much it for me. I mean, I got other ones, but it just, man. And I don't know. Like my collection isn't nearly as big as yours. I might have like 20 games or something, but
I'm
Sega
pushing 70.
GT Sega GT was awesome.
Yeah.
Silent Scope was pretty decent, but it was actually better in the arcade.
It didn't
And
support the damn light gun. Like, what the
I
hell is that
know,
about?
which was dumb, but hey, whatever. But I will tell you, let's see. Obviously the Resident Evil games, Code Veronica was awesome,
Yeah.
and
Honestly, the
Dead,
2 and 3 were really good
y-
ports.
yeah, which I need to get, but it's expensive. Actually, I used to play first-person shooters on PC all the time,
Mm,
and I ended up buying the keyboard and mouse for the Dreamcast
mm-hmm.
and Unreal Tournament.
Right. I
And
I had those too, actually.
in my opinion, it was pretty damn close to a perfect port.
Yeah.
There's some loading issues.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kind of takes a long time to load, but there's
Same with
some.
Quake 3 Arena, but
I need to get that though. Quake
like
3 was.
I honestly I played both of them online like a lot on the Dreamcast, and I can never really decide which one I liked better. I kind of switched between them just for variety, and
Yeah,
but they're both awesome. Like there was
yeah.
no
Um,
complaints.
with keyboard and mouse, using the controller for those was
I
difficult.
got damn good with the controller. I don't know how. I go back now
Well,
and it's just like I don't know what I did.
now there is one other game. There was a launch game, and we did pick it up relatively quick. Was Soul Calibur,
Oh yes.
and that game. I mean, even today, that game still looks great.
Mm-hmm.
They did one hell of a job with that. And let's see. I do like the game Expendable. It's essentially
Yeah.
a shmup. I
Yeah.
liked it quite a bit. And let's see what else. Well, I have Sega Rally 2. That's actually really
Mm-hmm.
good. 60 frames per second, solid. And
Yeah.
I might have to try and do some recording of that. And then sort of the Berserk was really good.
Yeah. That was a fun one too. So far, I
Which
have all these games.
I didn't realize that there was actually an anime based or that game's based on. So
Yeah.
I
And
want
a
to check that
sequel
out.
coming out in Japan,
Oh,
finally.
The
Yeah.
game?
Yeah, it's just called like Berserk. And it's that though. Like you can tell when you see it. It's got the dude and his big ass sword and the little fairy thing, and
Is it going to be on PS4?
it's on PS4 over there. I don't
I'm
know.
going to pick it up when I'm there.
There's no word on
I
whether
will
it's
be
coming to the
picking that
States.
up. I am picking that up for sure.
Be awesome. I don't know when the hell it's coming out, but
I hope it's out when I'm there. And then actually, Speed Devils. You ever play that
yeah,
one?
yeah, I played
That
the
was a
hell out of Speed
fantastic,
Devils.
fantastic racing game.
It's so that's a neat one. It's hard to really sell to people, but it's fun.
Crazy Taxi is another one.
Yeah, another arcade,
Yeah,
almost
I
perfect
love I
port.
love the arcade games though. Let's see, Dead or Alive 2. I got Tokyo Extreme Racer was pretty big for me because it just looked so realistic
It
at the
was
time.
That was an interesting one because the frame rate was so
60
smooth,
frames, 60
and then
frames.
like going back, like you can tell the models and stuff aren't very detailed, but
Uh,
the lighting
yeah,
was
the light
so
was
good
good,
for the time. It
and
was really great.
it was the first time that we really got to see what cube maps did, which for the uninformed or uneducated, a cube map is a essentially a fake reflection, and the cars, they had that glossy
Hmm.
reflection on the paint, which for the most part, PlayStation didn't have that, neither did N64. I mean, there was a couple games on N64 that did it, but they didn't look as good.
Yeah,
And let's see, we got Vigilante 8, Second
yeah,
Offense.
that was
That game
good.
was pretty good. I loved the combat. And I do have NFL 2K1 and NFL 2K. I like playing those games. Those
Yeah,
were
I have
back
2K1. That was
back then.
mind blowing to look at. Like,
Yeah, kicked the shit
whew,
out of Madden.
jeez.
Oh, and I'm sure you'd like the Virtual Fighter 3.
Yeah, you know what? That wasn't as impressive for me as Virtual Fighter
No,
2 was on the Saturn, but it was
I
fun.
didn't. I personally didn't like if you compare it to Dead or Alive 2,
Right.
it didn't really do anything for me, but it was still a good fighting game.
Hmm.
And then actually one of my favorites too is Gauntlet Legends.
I never got it. I really wanted to, but it was just like one of those things where I passed on it when the Dreamcast was still around, and little did I know that was just gonna disappear and become hard to get for a reasonable price. So,
That's another game though that I have on PS1,
hmm,
and
but the
I'll,
differences are
I'll
pretty stark there too.
huge. You know what? I'll probably do a comparison video on that because that's another fun game.
Uh, my Dreamcast story, it's somewhat similar actually. Basically, like I was super hyped for nearly 2 years on the Dreamcast, and like every news story that came out, and this was when the web was first starting to become a thing that you would have in your home. Every news story that came about, I would print it up and keep it in a folder because I
Huh?
wanted to be able to look back at the earliest leaks and stuff. And I no longer have the folder, unfortunately. But it was super cool because I still remember like the first time I saw Sonic Adventure screenshots. It is just mind blowing. Like holy cow!
Yeah, but
Um,
screenshots didn't do it justice.
no, it didn't.
That
And
that the
those looked,
demo with the whale scene where the
yeah,
whale
that
comes.
first level is so good. Um, but I ended up like there was always talk in these stories I read when people had hands on with it, where they were always talking up Soul Calibur. At this point, this was pre-launch. I didn't give a rat's ass. Like I didn't even care. Like I like Soul Blade on the PlayStation, but I didn't really care about Soul Calibur, like whatever. And that was another game. Like I saw some screenshots, but it was just like it didn't do anything until I saw it like in person. But basically what happened is something came about where my money was drained. I didn't have any money when the system was coming, and I tried like hell to get money saved up for it, and it was at a point where I was going to have to trade in like my N64 to help get the money, and like I didn't want to do that, and so it was
Couldn't
like
con your mom into it, huh?
no, I mean it was always tight because she had 4 kids and my dad wasn't exactly there, so like she didn't make nearly enough just to throw around $100 even. So I was like freaking out because I wanted this thing so bad, but it got to a point where I was like I accepted. There's no way I was gonna get it, and I was like, I at least have 2 friends that have it pre-ordered and they have it paid for and they're gonna have it. So I went over to one friend's house, and like his stepdad was picking it up on his way home from Port Huron, and so we were like waiting. We were like really anxious, and his mom got us some pizza and stuff, and we were sitting there waiting, eating pizza, drinking Mountain Dew, waiting for the thing to get there, and he finally gets there. And like I remember the day like it was yesterday. Like he walks in, he sets it down, and everything else didn't matter. Nothing else mattered. And like he ended up like shoving his sister down the stairs even at some point just to get her out of the way. she was a pain in the ass, sister. But anyway, he ended up opening it up, like kind of taking his time, relishing the moment. And I remember seeing how the little thank you note that Sega had on the inside of the box when you opened it, like thank you for purchasing this Dreamcast and all this. And I was like, man, this is awesome. This is gonna be great. And then he opened it up, took it out, and was like, man, it's so small. I can't believe it's so powerful, but it's so small. And he hooked it up to their TV, and at the time it was like a 30-inch TV or something. And it was big, and and he didn't have a game, so
Oops.
in goes the demo disc. That demo disc was enough for me. I was like, we started off, we just went kind of down the line, played the Sonic Adventure one, and like I remember seeing the sand and the grass, thinking, holy shit,
Was
so detailed.
Looking, yeah.
And then like the whole whale scene, it was like, holy shit. And at this point I was proclaiming, and I kind of wish I didn't, but I was proclaiming that the game has to be better than Mario 64. I'm probably wrong, but anyway, I was impressed by that. Then we just kind of went down the list and tried out the other games on the demo disc, and the one like Hydro Thunder was awesome. I really liked that. It reminded me of Wave Race, so of course I liked it. But then Ready to Rumble Boxing was the
That's
next
another
one.
good one, yeah.
Like I remember seeing the facial animations for the first time, and it was like, holy cow, this is like a movie. Even though now I know better, but it was really impressive at the time. And I remember the boxing, it reminded me of Punch-Out. Like the way the characters were really animated and weird. And then the boxing felt like just simple. It wasn't like a simulation by a long shot, so it was like it's just a fun time.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at this point I was just in fever pitch mode. Like I had to have a Dreamcast. And I started looking at all my options, like how the hell can I get a Dreamcast? And I started mowing any and everybody's lawn just to get $10 or $20 here and there, just to get to that $200 mark. Which for our viewers, yeah, the Dreamcast launched at $200, which is freaking awesome.
It's actually, this is It released on 9/9/1999,
Yeah,
and it was sold for
$199.99.
199.99.
Yeah, man. So well marketed there in that sense.
And they
Um,
actually they sold really well at
they
first
did.
until Sony announced the PS2. Then everything kind of started
But
slowing down.
that's not even it though. Like the system actually sold more in its like launch period than any system before it by long shot, multitudes more. And they had plenty of stock, so it was like there was no shortage issues or anything. Though they should have created one, honestly, might have created more hype.
Yeah.
But like the thing with them is they simply were running out of money, and to market against Sony would have cost them more than they could afford. So it was like everything I've seen since then, that's really what killed it. It wasn't so much that it wasn't selling well enough, it was that to compete, to advertise against the Goliath that was Sony was just not reasonable. Like they had already borrowed way too much money, and it would have taken like they needed a full generation of strong sales to pay all of it back, and it wasn't happening. But anyway, I ended up um I ended up doing like various lawn jobs and stuff, getting grass cut for people just for $1, and then I am going to another friend's house and mowing his mom's yard so that I could get some more money. And we got talking because she always made me dinner too, so that was cool. And we got talking, and I was like, I really want to get this thing. And she's like, well, how much you got? And I was like, well, I was at like 170 or something, or 150, pretty close. And I was like, I think I'm gonna go and trade in my N64 so that I have the rest, and I'll just get a Dreamcast then with that. She's like, well, what about a game? I'm like, well, I can play the demo disc for a little while until I can afford a game. Well, she's like, well, when are you planning on doing this? And I was just like, well, whenever I get a ride to Port Huron, I guess. And lots of name dropping. Port Huron's getting some love, and she's like, well, we can go to Port Huron now if you guys aren't doing anything. I was like, all right, that sounds awesome. So I was getting excited. I was like, I'm gonna have my Dreamcast finally. I didn't know the half of it. And remember, this is my friend's mom. Okay, my mom had no idea that this was even happening until well after the fact. We got to Toys. Yeah, we got to Toys R Us, and they didn't have any games. So that sucked. And I had my N64 with me and everything, and we got in there, and she's like, oh, it's $200? And she's like, why don't you take your N64 out to the car? So I run it out there, run back in, and she's like, ready to go? I'm like, well, I have to pay first. She's like, it's okay, it's taken care of. And I was like, seriously? And she's like, you can just use the money you saved up and get some games for it.
Oh, man.
I was like, fuck yeah, man. So we had the trick now was to find a place that had some games, and we went to Walmart. And this was before Walmart became a super center, so it was like small Walmart. And we went in there, and they had a bunch of games. Because for the people watching this that don't know, the Dreamcast launched with 24 games,
Yeah,
or maybe it was
unheard of
26.
for
It was
time.
it was insane, and it's unheard of for this time, for today. No system launches with that many games. Period. It's just not a thing. But anyway, we went over there. Now it was a matter of deciding what games I had to have now. This was hard. Because partially because my money was a little bit limited, but also because like I didn't know. Like the internet wasn't really enough of a thing to really be able to just look online and see what the good games are. So you had to kind of go by magazine articles and stuff, pictures,
Or
screenshots.
the official Dreamcast magazine.
Yeah, which I also had. And actually, when she got it at Toys R Us, I got that Toys R Us exclusive Dreamcast
I
guide.
have it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it there. But anyway, went in there. They had Sonic Adventure, so I grabbed that. They had Blue Stinger. I was like, well, I'll get that. It's supposed to be like Resident Evil. I'll get it. And and then I had just enough for one more game, and I was like, well, I'll get Soul Calibur. I hear it's good. I wasn't super excited yet. I was like, I'll get it because that's what you're supposed to get, I guess. And got home. First thing I want to do is play Sonic. Yeah, it froze. Right after it got past the Sega screen, after it boot up, it froze. And I was like, man, what the fuck? And I put in Blue Stinger. Wouldn't even start.
Uh-oh.
I was like, what the hell's going on? I put in Soul Calibur, started right up. I was like, okay, maybe it's the games. So she was nice enough to drive me right back up there to return them. And it was all rainy at this point, too. And I went in, I exchanged them, got home. Sonic Adventure now worked, but Blue Stinger wouldn't. So I couldn't get back there yet for a couple days. I came back like a week and returned it, got another copy. Blue Stinger worked this time. And I later read that there was a whole batch of Sonic and Blue Stinger that was just bad. Didn't manufacture properly. So yeah, collectors out there, watch out. You might get duped.
Well, Hydro Thunder had some.
It did too. Yes.
Yeah,
I
I had a copy, actually the first one, and you can tell the disc color,
yeah.
or the screen print. The bad disc is red,
Yeah.
or like various shades of red, and then the good one is blue.
Yep. And I was lucky enough to get a good one the first time around. So, but anyway, we got home and like, yeah, I played Sonic a good deal. Started playing Blue Stinger, but once I put Soul Calibur in, it didn't leave. It did not leave the system. Like, if you look at my games for my Dreamcast now, that game has so many minor scratches just from use. Like, it didn't leave. And I got a bunch of my friends who didn't normally really play games were hooked on it. Like, actually got into the single player mission mode or whatever it was called. Like, crazy. Spent many hours. But there was one game I also got that day that we also spent a lot of time on, which is weird as shit. Air Force Delta. Not like a game you would think is like some landmark game. It's just some weird, odd third-party game from Konami that
I swear I bought
grabbed,
that.
and I was absorbed. Like, I beat the game. I played through the whole thing. Between that and Soul Calibur, I just bounced back and forth. It was later on is when I finally went through Sonic Adventure. I never did beat Blue Stinger, but like, is all about Air Force Delta and Soul Calibur. And unfortunately, Air Force Delta does not work with a VGA cable, so I haven't been able to play it because I don't want to switch over my cables. I did try when I had my S-Video cables hooked up, and it won't boot. So I'm kind of sad because I don't know.
There might be a way. I don't know if you have this one or not. This VGA box
No,
right here.
no, I got the,
This is the one that I picked up from EB Games, and there's a switch on here.
yeah, that you can switch.
It allows
over.
you to switch it between TV and PC, and some of the games, I think, after you have already booted it up, you can flick the switch and it'll switch over. But I don't know if it works with all of the games or not.
Well, see, my VGA box, and I didn't discover this for a long time because I never used the TV hookups, the composite hookups on it. But if they don't work apparently. Like I tried hooking them up when I was doing my channel, and there's no video feed going through that side.
So your
My VGA
cables
box
are bad.
is the box. Like I've tried different
Oh,
cables and everything with the VGA side of the, or not the VGA, but the composite side of the VGA box. I can do VGA video just fine, but when I try to run it through the composite,
oh, I
nothing.
see.
And this video is dead too. I don't know what happened, or maybe it was that way when I bought it and I just never realized. But whatever the case, I'm gonna have to actually get my original Dreamcast cables out and see if Air Force Delta works that way. But either way, that's the story of how my Dreamcast came to be. That was a stressful time, but also very, very rewarding. Oh, and in return, because my mom's awesome, she bought me and this friend tickets to see Metallica for our first concert ever.
Wow.
So, yeah.